The story of Michael Jackson isn't over yet. Lionsgate is officially moving forward with Michael 2, and this time, the sequel could explore some of the most important and controversial chapters of Jackson's life that the first movie left untouched. From the story Lionsgate wants to tell, to Neverland Ranch and the controversies surrounding Jackson's later years, Jaafar Jackson's expected return, and the latest production timeline, there is already a lot to discuss. So today we're breaking down everything we know about Michael 2, including its plot, controversies, Jaafar Jackson's return, and the release date. The biggest news surrounding Michael 2 is that the sequel is officially moving forward, and Lionsgate is now actively developing the next chapter of Michael Jackson's story. The update is much stronger than earlier speculation, because Lionsgate Motion Picture Group chairman Adam Fogelson recently said the studio is fully engaged in putting the sequel together and is targeting a production start toward the end of 2026 or early 2027. He also revealed that some major musical sequences already filmed during the original production could be incorporated into the sequel, meaning the filmmakers may already have a significant amount of material ready to use. After the enormous success of Michael, the studio clearly sees enough story and audience interest to continue the project. But what could Michael 2 actually be about? The first film ends around Michael's 1988 bad tour, meaning a huge portion of his adult life has not yet been explored. Fogelson has specifically said there is still a ton of Michael Jackson's story left to tell, including major moments and popular parts of his music catalog that were not included in the first movie. That gives the sequel a much wider timeline to work with. Instead of simply repeating the rise to fame story, Michael 2 can explore the period when Jackson became one of the biggest stars on the planet, while also showing the enormous pressure, isolation, personal relationships, financial problems, and controversies that followed his unprecedented success. The studio has also suggested that the storytelling does not necessarily have to move in a straight chronological order, so the sequel could potentially move forward and backward through different periods of his life. And that brings us to one of the most important and controversial questions surrounding Michael 2, Neverland Ranch and the allegations that shaped the later years of Jackson's life. The original film was heavily affected by legal and creative complications surrounding allegations of child sexual abuse. The first movie ultimately avoided directly depicting or naming some of the most controversial material, and that decision became one of the biggest talking points around the production. The sequel now enters a much more difficult period of Jackson's life, because the first public allegations emerged in the 1990s, and the 2005 criminal trial became a defining part of his later story. Jackson was acquitted of all criminal charges in that trial, but the allegations remained a major part of public debate for decades. Any sequel covering this period will have to decide how to address those events, while balancing the film's dramatic story with the legal and ethical complexities surrounding them. Neverland could therefore become much more important in the sequel, not simply as a symbol of Jackson's extraordinary lifestyle, but as a setting connected to some of the most difficult chapters of his public life. There is also a major question about who will play Michael Jackson again, and the answer appears to be Jaafar Jackson. Jaafar, Michael's nephew, received widespread attention for portraying him in the first film, and he has now spoken about wanting the sequel to give audiences more insight into Michael's later years from his perspective. He has emphasized the importance of allowing Michael's voice and point of view to be represented, particularly when dealing with the controversies surrounding the final decades of his life. That does not mean every detail of the sequel has been officially confirmed, but it strongly suggests that Jaafar remains committed to continuing the role. His return would also give the sequel continuity that would be difficult to achieve with another actor. And finally, we have the release date. Lionsgate has not announced a specific theatrical date yet, but we now have the clearest release window so far. According to Adam Fogelson, the current target is somewhere between the end of 2027 and the first half of 2028. Production is being targeted for late 2026 or early 2027, which makes that window realistic. The studio still needs to finalize the screenplay, complete production, finish editing and visual effects, and prepare the musical sequences before locking down an exact date. So for now, the safest prediction is late 2027 to the first half of 2028 rather than a specific month. So, Michael 2 is officially in active development. Production is being targeted for late 2026 or early 2027, and the current theatrical target sits between late 2027 and the first half of 2028. The exact release date is still coming, but the next chapter of Michael Jackson's story is clearly moving closer to production.